Hello and welcome back to my Pyanodons challenge run. During the last episode, I worked on breeding Vrauks and getting them going. And then I started building a massive Vrauk paddock, which I got less than halfway through, because not only do I need to fill in those Vrauk paddocks, but during the hands-off mode, I was doing the other half of the job, or laying out the other half of the job, which is putting down a lot of moss farms, putting down some flora collectors, some water, hooking up CO2 and muddy sludge. So there's lots of bits and bobs to work on. And then I came back to my base to see how my Vrauks were breeding. I was expecting after 3 hours to have, I don't know, like 130 Vrauks was my calculation, which is nowhere near enough to fill all those paddocks, but it was going to be plenty to start the breeding process for real. And then I noticed I created a problem, so I think I'm going to call this one a failure, and I'm going to jump into real time to show you what the failure is, and then come back to VO to talk about what's going to happen during this episode, and so on. So the problem is right here. See, I forgot to filter this for cocoons only, and the barrels got extracted and these stopped multiplying. What a shame. But that's okay. I'm going to need to get the Vrauks that did get made, because a few did get made. Actually, given how slowly they operate, this might not have stopped that long ago. I need to get them multiplying in their new homes, and I will go work on that while the voiceover continues to tell you about what else I'm going to do. I did add a Memento Mori, and I decorated my Memento Mori book with something to tell me what was the problem here, like this one was a barrel issue. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to head into hands-off mode, hands-on mode, as usual, pronounce it wrong, and reset the timer, and see you later. So with player me speeding off to continue work on the Vrauk paddocks and hopefully get some Vrauks breeding quickly, I want to talk to you about why I'm okay with this particular failure. I was counting up my technologies, and I've noticed that I've got about 13 hours left of valid automation science to research, at the current rate, of course. If I get to the end of that, I really don't have anything left that is worthwhile researching. I don't really want to research walls and gun turrets for no reason, and therefore I would consider that kind of a failure in and of itself. So, to avoid that particular failure, I need in the next roughly 4 episodes to build out Pi 1, and also build up Pi 1 to the point where it's making 125 per second rather than just 100, and I haven't even set up for 100 yet. So rather than kind of like have a long-term failure coming down the road, I took the short-term failure now because the Vrauks weren't breeding, and I'd like to, get as close to making Pi 1 when the technology itself pops as possible. That'll let me start making a little bit of Pi 1, get to the hot air and quartz crushing recipes as soon as possible, and that'll, I'll have to rejigger my base anyway, so better to do that sooner rather than later. So I'm okay with it. In other notes, I did install the inserter lane change mod. I will try and point it out when I've used it, and in fact, I will need to do a walkthrough of the stuff that I've built these last episodes, because I didn't really show off the Vrauk paddock area, so I'll point out where I've done that and inside of the moss, but it's not going to have a huge impact other than me having to not do some minor but janky side loading from inserters. Besides that, I'm just trucking along and aiming to get Vrauks breeding. Vrauks breed very slowly. Just for one paddock to refill itself with Vrauks, the 10 modules that it needs to operate at full capacity with the Vrauk 1 recipe, it takes 26 minutes to breed those 10 Vrauks. So to get the Vrauks snowballing is going to take a whole bunch of episodes, so that's why I'm both disappointed in myself that I got that filter wrong, and also why I need to stay on top of having the Vrauks continue to breed themselves. In fact, I almost considered adding that mod that lets you add have inserters insert modules back into a machine, but I think that would be kind of painful. So it would be better if I had bots to do this task for me. However, I don't. Anyway, this episode's going to be a ton of just building out that system and feeding more Vrauks into it once I get even the basics of it going. So yeah, I'm going to let you continue to watch that happen. One thing that is interesting, by the way, that I looked up after the episode is that this build, the moss farms, the reproductive centers, the Vrauk paddocks, and a few of the bits and bobs that need to be there, like belts and underground pipes, takes almost 600,000 iron ore and 200,000 copper ore at my current plate creation efficiency. So yeah, that bootstrap base's ore patches are not long for this world. So I have a little bit of moss cooking and my Vrauks are going, but I'm seeing that I'm low on resources. I'm going to get this iron going a little bit faster, and that should help out some because that upper lane is not quite full. But then I might have to steal from my science build because I'm just really short on stuff. But yeah, overall it's going well. I just need to make sure that the Vrauks are multiplying as fast as I can get them to go. One thing I'm concerned about once all these moss farms come online is CO2 production. Yaf says if they were all working, I would need 13 furnaces just for those moss farms. So I'm going to expand this build and take the opportunity to add my wind sensor to the CO2 build. So yeah, I'm just going to do that now. There we go. That's a lot more CO2 production. So should be fine. And with my wind sensor, when I'm not running this build at full tilt, I'll be saving some power as well. So back to building Vrauks, seeing how many I can get going before I run out of time. I really want to stop right on the button so that my bootstrap base can refurbish itself with a lot more materials because it's running low right now. In fact, I'm going to come over here and take the last of this, as much of this small parts buffer as I can take with me. I guess all of it, so that I can make sure that I can keep building. One thing you can do if you want to accelerate slightly when you're doing this breeding is you can fill buildings partially. So if you build, if you fill this with just one module, then the building itself has a tiny bit of speed, and the modules just kind of work to accelerate it. But so if you have one module in there, it's like having, let's say, 2/11ths of the speed of the total speed of the building. Whereas if you have the full amount, it ends up being 11/11ths. So By spreading the Vrauks around slightly, you can get a little bit of a benefit. It's much more noticeable if you do it with the reproductive centers, because this is 2/3 of the speed versus maximum. So I'm doing that as a minor optimization. It's not really going to help a lot, but it's something. Anyway, I'm going back to building now. Then I decided to check my work here. This could have been catastrophic. I did not have my my coke getting voided, so that still needs to happen. I'm not making nearly enough moss yet to absorb all that coke into carbon dioxide, so yeah. Oh, one more way to increase the speed of the breeding is to just keep, as soon as you get another Vrauk, feed it in. That's kind of obvious, but it does mean that instead of the 26 minutes to for the Vrauks to rebuild themselves, it can be significantly shorter. Alright, it is time for me to go to hands-off mode. I delivered the last few Vrauks I had to their happy homes, and hopefully they will make a lot of babies for me to fill up these paddocks and reproductive centers. I need a total of 1,680 just to fill out the build before I can even start manufacturing Vrauks for more nefarious purposes. Oh, well. Can't use those. I'm in hands-off mode, and I think with the number I've populated with, I won't be able to fill up this build after I come out of hands-off mode next session. But I'll certainly be able to do it the one after that, and that should be sufficient. So let's do a little bit of a build walkthrough while I have you here. Reproductive centers, you've seen them before when I was doing the breeding. I have the sap directly inserting into the reproductive centers. The flora, native flora is coming in from the right, and then spoilage is being extracted to the other side of that. And then here I take whatever is not native flora and throw it onto the line to be voided by this boiler over here. The fluorospilinin burns very, very easily and very, very quickly. From the top, I have moss coming down the line, and then cocoons are inserted by the reproductive centers, and they get fed to the Vrauk paddock down here. For both cases, I have a direct insertion of barrels being done by a barreler kind of stuck next to them. The paddocks just managed to have this little belt set up on one side and a box on the other, and this is a mistake that I'll need to fix next time, but I did catch it for the whole build later on, because I needed to extract barrels only. The cocoons and moss, as I said, are coming through here, and then the fluorospilinin coming in on the right and going down the left, with the non-Vrauk things, so including spoilage, being put onto the other side of the lane to be put into a box or voided as necessary. The only other interesting bit to this is that when I get Vrauks Mark II, let's rotate this correctly, I think that's it, I can just kind of dump this build right on top of it. I add an extra lane so that I can get sap and Vrauks food into the system, and then I left space up here to put another reproductive center because the ratio changes when you have Mark II and Vrauks food to close to 5 to 16 instead of 4 to 16. So that will just work out perfectly for me. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time.